Nothing new up here so far as what's going on for this week. Remember, Friday, you have rough draft for college essay, and it's okay if you haven't started that yet. I think it'll be more so around like tomorrow that maybe some clarification will start coming in. But certainly you can try to figure out what you want to do. But for Friday, I need you to come in with a paper copy because we will be doing peer editing with it on Friday and cannot do that with a digital copy. So Friday, paper copy coming in. I mentioned to you yesterday, you don't have to be overly concerned about the word count for a rough draft. You're not losing points if it's at 692 words instead of the 650. I would say you probably should be at least 550 for when you submit. You don't want to add filler stuff just for the sake of getting like another 50 to 100 words when you do your final submission. But if you're below 550, there's probably some things that you could be including that you are leaving out. So I'd say that 550 to 650 range is probably where you would want to be sitting. Tomorrow, when you come in, I'll have the essay rubric there for you. And it's just a copy for you so that you know how it's going to be graded so you can add up the 50 points. So that would be the rubric for the final copy that you'd be submitting next week. The rubric for the rough draft copy on Friday is have it. If you have it, you get 15 points. And have it complete. If you don't have it and it's not complete, then you don't get 15 points. So that one should be pretty straightforward. You're going to have at least 2 people peer edit your rough draft. You can have more people peer edit if you want, but you're going to have at least 2 people peer edit. And so the next week you're going to submit your digital copies, return it in. You're going to give the rough draft and the peer edits to me, and those things combined end up being your 50 points. Thursday, we'll have laptops in here so that you can work on the essay in class on Thursday. Friday, we'll do peer editing. If you do finish the peer editing, I'll give you, you can still get the laptops, but I would think the peer editing will take most of the period. And then on Monday of next week, you'll also have the laptop. So if any revisions and changes and things like that you want to start to make, you'll have. And then that'll be the last chance to work with it in class, but Friday is when ultimately next week when it would be due. Your essay packet have with you tomorrow because we will take a look at some of those sample essays in class and you can kind of get some ideas of what to do and what not to do, and you'll wonder why some of these people wrote about what they did and how did that guy get into college. But and we'll look at Jack when we say that. Just gonna stare at Jack all period. See what happens with it. Where's my essay packet? The one thing I forgot to mention to you yesterday with your essays, I think we briefly looked at number 1 because that was the common one, and then number 3 was the one where only 4%. Just want to throw out word of caution for number 7, and some of you may have started to look at the essay prompt, some of you may have not. Number 7, the last one, says share an essay on any topic of your choice. It can be one you've already written, one that responds to a different prompt, or one of your own design. Disclaimer, don't submit an essay to me that you've already written for something else. I don't want Grapes of Wrath Part 2 coming at me. I don't want your bio lab getting resubmitted from 9th grade or something like that. You know, create something new. But if there is an idea that you have in your head and you're not sure, well, does that work better for prompt number 2 or prompt number 5? You can see that at least number 7 gives you a window where you can kind of do whatever you want. Now, I would still make sure that you have a clear focus with number 7, and I would make sure it still pertains to you communicating something about yourself. I wouldn't take it as an opportunity to write, you know, creative sonnets and limericks and things like that you are going to submit to whatever school, Cornell, Bucknell, Temple, Pitt, Slippery Rock, Clarion, East Stroudsburg, Bob's School of Higher Learning. I could see you, yeah. Bob's School. So don't take it as like a free-for-all, I can do whatever in the world I want. But if you do have some things where you're like, I don't know which of those prompts it really fits into, number 7 does give you that freedom to kind of go in some different directions with it. But no resubmission of lab reports. Don't take your math test from 10th grade and staple a cover page to the front and a final page on the back, like some people, Mark Fowler, did last year for essays and stuff like that. It was only a rough draft, but you know, still did that. Yeah, and I forgot about it apparently until they reminded me about it. Oh, but he did not get credit for it. That part he did understand still was the case. Yesterday, we did a lot of do's so far as the essays, and the main ones were like kind of stay focused, have a specific topic, idea, concept that you're looking at. Today, we're going to take a look at the don't do that kind of stuff, and I think a lot of it is going to be pretty self-explanatory, but at the same time, it's still worth our time going over to make sure we don't run into anything a little too messy. If you're still having one of those moments of nothing memorable has happened to me, yes, something memorable or significant or important has happened to you. You don't have to have traveled to a foreign country. You don't have to have worked at some amazing job or having an internship or a science competition to do college essay. All you're looking for is like a moment where you kind of had an aha realization, some kind of impact that took place. It could have been part of a job, it could have been sitting in a class, it could have been you sitting on a school bus riding home trying to think about something because you were annoyed by everyone else sitting around you and you just kind of had some kind of significant realization taking place. So it doesn't have to be the wow, I can't believe that person got to go on that opportunity, but it's more of you sharing some kind of little window of your life that has had some kind of impact with maybe career choices, values that you now have, changes that you've had to kind of undergo. They don't have to be drastic changes. It might just be a slight switch in a line of thinking that you've had. But any little sliver of an event that has had some type of impact, that can be worthwhile enough to write about. So the main thing is don't make something up. Don't try to exaggerate an event that has happened to make it seem more stupendous and wonderful. Write about what happened. Be sincere with it, and it should end up being okay. So don't make stuff up. Or Sarah. I don't think this should be issue anymore, but in years past it used to be a main one, but I've kind of reinforced this over and over and over again. Don't tell them or write to them about what you think they want to hear. And that's where people will kind of start to do a little bit of maybe some exaggeration so I sound better, or writing about a topic that they think, well, I really do need to cover this because this is the kind of thing that they want to hear. It's not to say that you cannot write about personal commitment if you are looking to be a doctor, but if you are looking to go into the medical profession, that doesn't mean that you have to write about that one specific concept, that one specific idea. I've had people where they are going to pursue a medical career and they end up writing about experiences with jazz band. That's perfectly fine. Has nothing to do with their medical career, but has a lot to do with about who the people are that they are writing, that they are trying to convey or communicate about themselves. So there is not like a master list of topics that you need to hit on. The one thing I would say is stay away from writing about how wonderful the school and university is. It's going to be like empty flattery. I've always dreamed of being a Michigan Wolverine. I can't wait to go to Ann Arbor and experience the football experience of 108,000 people on a Saturday. They already know that kind of stuff takes place. And there's no need for you to make it seem as if their school is bigger and better than every other school out there. The people going there probably already think that it is. So you want to go to CMU, Carnegie Mellon, fine, but you don't have to flatter them about all the wonderful things of Carnegie Mellon, which you are apparently not going to do, which is perfectly fine.
I supported on Wednesday, I just wasn't a fan.
Yeah, that's fine.
No.
Why not?
The one teacher, he's like, I've never heard anyone say they didn't like CMU. I didn't.
Them you didn't like it.
No, I didn't tell the teacher.
You're a university. Wow.
No, I was telling one of my other teachers here.
You're like, this ain't Pitt. No, and when you do start touring universities and things like that, certainly some things that people are looking for, others aren't.
I don't know what it was. I just wasn't a fan.
I went to high school in Pittsburgh, I was looking to go someplace else. If I were, I'm not saying I would change schools or anything like that, I really did not consider Pitt because it was in Pittsburgh why I want to stay. But most of my grad classes I took at Pitt, and I was like, well, it's a nice campus. I think I would have liked, something too. But yeah, just because it is that university or that school doesn't mean you have to like it. I went to Slippery Rock not expecting to like it, and I really liked it. So it ended up working. So just because you do like a school doesn't mean you have to let them know at every moment that you like the school. Let's be honest, you're applying to it. They probably figure that there's something about it that you like, and that's why you want to go there. So you don't have to tell them over and over and over again. Bringing something new to the table, that can be a little dangerous to include on this, in the sense that you don't have to come up with something that is completely unique that nobody has ever written about it. But the whole idea would be stay away from what you think are the necessary topics that they want to hear about. You could still write about a topic that other people have, but you might be bringing a new, fresh experience about it or perspective about it that hasn't necessarily been presented before or presented in a certain way before. But it's not that you are under pressure to come up with a completely 100% brand new issue that has never, ever, ever been brought up at any other time. Main thing, they're not looking for a new way to view the world, they're looking for a new way to view you. And that's the main thing that you're certainly trying to get across. You are the applicant, so they want to know stuff about you. We talked about this yesterday. Remember, it's not this person who is reading your essay. It's probably going to be someone in like jeans and flip-flops and a t-shirt who is trying to just earn a couple extra bucks so they don't have to pay full cost for tuition. So it is a relatable person. Sad thing is I look more and more like that guy every year.
But without the hair.
For who? Me or?
Well, he doesn't have stubble. You don't have hair.
I'm shaving like tomorrow. This is miserable.
Really?
Yeah.
So,
Penguins need to win tonight. Either way, I'm done. I'm out.
playoff here, so
Tapping out.
I've shaved mine.
I've never had a cardigan before.
That's good. Don't go. I don't.
I'll pick up lab coat.
I feel like lab coat would go a little bit further, but you know, well.
Lab cardigan.
Although
Cardigan.
white cardigan on white shirt, I wouldn't do that. I don't know. I don't think that you're necessarily going to be offensive. No offense. I could see you being condescending. I'm at. And it's not that you are going to go, not that Abigail's going to write to CMU. I would never go to your place, so please don't bother accepting me. But when it comes to what makes you so wonderful and special and unique, I could see people making statements, maybe not saying all Americans are conforming cowards, but most of my classmates don't put forth effort like I do. Or most people in my high school don't realize the importance of, whatever, fill in the blank. You might not intend for it to sound condescending or cynical, but it can come across that way. So there's absolutely nothing wrong, and you are supposed to elevate yourself, but don't elevate yourself by pushing everyone else down. Now, if you need to write about, like, at least I show up to school every day, unlike some people who sit by me and there's truth to it, okay, but don't simply kind of make general claims, blanket statements about everyone else, and since you are not like that person or those people, that's what makes you different. Not that you are going to swear at anybody, but if you think you do sound a little offensive, Carol, you need to get water. Okay. If there's anything that you kind of go, I don't know if I should include that, that probably means you should not include that. So if there's a thought, a question, a second of deliberation, take it out, put something else in instead. But the condescending part, it could happen. We kind of talked about this yesterday. There's no need for you to fill out a resume. This is my GPA. These are my SAT scores, ACT scores. This is my height, weight. I'm a Taurus, and I like long walks on the beach. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. And it's not that this stuff is not important, but it's the fact that they already know this based on the transcript and other application materials that are coming their way. So they would know that you're on the tennis team. They would know student council through activities. They know what your transcript is. Maybe they don't know that you went to France and worked in a cheese factory, which would be a great job to have. But you don't have to go through all of those things in a litany. Now, if there was something about that trip to France, and seeing other cultures, and it made you kind of maybe prioritize things differently, or working in a cheese factory was an experience that you never ever thought would affect you in a certain way, but it has, fine. But there's no need to cover all of those things, list all of those things that they're certainly already going to be aware of. I recommend working on the turnpike. It's a good summer college job. Don't you want to be in the toll booth? Toll booth is miserable.
Like we drove on the turnpike this weekend, and every single person was passing up.
Oh, it's a great job.
They give
There is
a lot.
nothing like
It's
getting
like a-
up
it's like
early
a-
to
it's
remove
a
dead
whole
animals from the
team.
road for the safety of motorists.
You did?
Yeah, sometimes.
That would be the interest.
Did you get paid a lot of money?
Back then it was,
The people that work
it was over $10 an hour, which for the summer wasn't bad.
You showed it.
Not bad.
My dad was saying, the people in the toll booths get like 40,000 a year.
They get a lot of money.
Oh, if you work for career, yeah, it's not. It's
Yeah.
I don't know. The pace might not be like out of this world great, but but you're a state.
$40,000?
Well, and you're a state employee,
No,
so your benefits are like your medical, all that kind of stuff are excellent. I never worked in the toll booths, but that looked miserable. Jack, the one time there was a deer and I went to pull him and the leg came out.
Real?
Yeah, so I was standing in the middle of the road holding the leg and then a tractor trailer was coming, so I
It was a
just
dead deer, right?
yeah.
Okay.
But it had bloated up because it was like August and 80 degrees at 7 o'clock in the morning, and so we just got the shovels and pushed them to the side.
Do you do it yourself or do you have friends that
Oh, there were multiple people. I think there were 2 of us for that day. Usually there's 2 of you in a
just
truck
drive
going
around
around.
like collecting animals, like just on the road?
Yeah, we're stuff on the roadside. It's pretty scary how many beer bottles you would pick up.
Do you recycle them?
Yeah, I think we had a recycling bin that we would put them in and then take them back to the shop. Story of your life. You can't fit your whole life in there. I'm not trying to say your life is uninteresting, but within 650 words, it's not going to work. So you are doing this small glimpse of a life, or at least some kind of experience. So essays about your family, a trip to France, extracurricular activities, they can be effective so long as you are focused and specific and looking at one of those things. I don't think you would be able to do a full essay about a trip to France because a lot of stuff would be happening within that trip. But there certainly could be some individual moments or little things that happened within that trip that could be effective stuff to write about. So for example, again, not trying to say you have to write about these things, but there might be, some kind of cultural, religious, holiday event that took place that you want to write about. It could have been, a meal that you never thought you would ever partake in, and now it has opened stuff up, and Lexi just loves boiled tongue. Wonderful stuff. I've never had it. Snails. It's calamari, that's squid.
Yeah, it's good.
I've never had calamari.
Calamari is
My uncle from Greece had squid over the weekend for Easter dinner. I didn't eat it. I wasn't there. They're in Connecticut, but we got a picture of like this huge squid, and I was like,
Is it squid or octopus?
Calamari?
Yeah, it's octopus.
Calamari's octopus?
Yeah.
Okay. I know it's fried.
It's good.
I'd probably try it. But
It depends on all of them. No. Red Lobster has really good calamari.
Calamari tastes like ramen.
probably won't try it.
Calamari.
Because you are dealing with 650 words, and I think I mentioned to you yesterday, a lot of the edits that you do, it's probably eliminating things as opposed to adding things to it. Some of you have taken language enrichment and are proud of your newfound vocabulary, and you can use 50 words when simply 2 or 3 would be fine. Use the 2 or 3, that would be fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it could be something as simple as saying, in society today, it's only 3 words, but you go, now, it means the same thing, you've eliminated 2 words. Society can be a dangerous word because it's one of those terms where it means maybe one thing to you, but it could mean something else to another person depending on perspective. So if you find yourself using a term like society quite a bit, I would try to specify it a little bit more. Certainly this would be a more severe example. Over the years it's been pointed out to me by my parents, friends, and teachers, And I've even noticed this about myself as well, that I am not the neatest person in the world. You simply could write
It's long.
3 words. Done. Took care of it.
I'm so proud of you right now.
And she used a contraction too. I haven't counted how many words we have here, but we're probably dealing with 35, 40. We got it down to 3. Good to go. That would be perfectly fine. Cliches. Start jotting these ones down, although cutting edge doesn't really happen anymore. It had a 3-year run there for a while. Kaylee's going to write, my application essay is lit. You're going to do it. Okay. I learned my lesson, always learning from mistakes. I can make a difference. These lessons are useful on and off the field or in and out of the classroom. They're types of statements that people will say, and they certainly can be true. I don't want to ever make it sound like these ideas are terrible, don't write about them. The problem is, though, if you start wording them in ways like this, I no longer take my loved ones for granted, or I no longer take friends for granted, because they are cliched statements that get used over and over again, there does tend to be a doubt as to how sincere you truly are. Are you writing this because it's true, or are you writing it because you feel like it's something that you are supposed to include? And so certainly be careful about that. If there is something on here that you could kind of see yourself writing, in the next slide I'll show you more as to how it tends to show up within phrases, sentences that people will write. It's not, again, saying that the idea is not going to work, but the way that you present it, you're going to want to try to make it a little bit more authentic, a little bit more genuine. Your essay is going to people that read a lot of essays. By no means can I guarantee that they can always pick this out, but they tend to be pretty good at telling when something is authentic and genuine and when it's being exaggerated and when it's being made up. If you just read a lot of stuff, you can start to tell. I'm not going to claim that I can always tell when someone is exaggerating or making something up, but there have been cases before where I'll go, did this really happen? And no. Well, then don't write about it. So do be authentic, specific, genuine, sincere with the stuff that you are writing about. Don't turn in the essay about hard work, perseverance, dedication, honesty, and then get that 98% showing up on Turnitin.com. That's bad. That happens. The fact that it was about honesty, that was unreal.
There's a lot. I need to find that.
Don't take Cameron's essays
Oh,
and put your name on them. Keegan, I know you want to say that stuff. So the way that some of those cliches can kind of start to show up, as I finished the race, I realized I had learned the value of hard work and appreciated the fact that I could accomplish anything if I set my mind to it. Now, you could have a situation like this where you did go through some kind of ordeal or event where those things took place, but the value of that statement gets diminished by having value of hard work if I set my mind to it, because those are the types of things that they're going to start reading quite a bit. And if they start seeing those phrases, their mind's going to wander, their eyes are going to start to skim, and the essay's probably just going to go into the pile, not doing anything great, not doing anything wrong, but not really doing anything memorable. And you want to try to find a way to be memorable, and that's with that genuine, authentic nature. Working in this atmosphere made me appreciate the value of diversity. Summer in New York truly broadened my horizons. Again, you can write about these kind of experiences, but the way to avoid this kind of stuff is to get into specific detail. What did you learn, as opposed to just kind of having that general blanket statement clause. Another thing to kind of keep in mind is it's not about telling them what you've done, but it's about showing them who you are and proving not necessarily what makes you 100% different, unique from everyone else, but how can you best illustrate what makes you, you, who you are? And don't worry about trying to give them a whole fresh new perspective of the world, but give them a good perspective, again, of who you are, because this essay is focusing on you. This used to be a bigger issue. They used to have a prompt on the Common App where it was like identifying an inspirational quote or song lyric. And I'm glad they took that one out, because you would identify the quote and song lyric and then go into what is so wonderful about it. And you ended up writing more about a Ben Franklin quote or a John Lennon song lyric as opposed to something about you. So that's not one that is out there anymore. You know, theoretically you still could write that essay if you did that freebie prompt with number 7. If you do end up using some type of quotation, famous passage, line, whatever, just make sure that it does tie in directly into the essay. Don't use a quote for simply having a quote there. You have a limited number of words. You may as well make them your own. I don't think you're going to have a hard time filling up 650 words. Make sure they're your words coming that way. You don't need to throw in, so it goes at the very end of the essay. I know I won't be going to CMU. So it goes. I'm not good enough for your school. So it goes. Jack Wells.
I think Bob was up there.
Bob's Institute of Higher Learning. I'm trying to think what the best name is of like a university out there that you wouldn't think that's a good school, but probably Slippery Rock
Miami University
of Ohio.
I got an email. It just said Miami U, and I was like, oh. And then it said,
There's
I
a
opened it
Miami
up, and then
U
it
in
said of
Ohio,
Ohio.
and then there's
Miami
Miami
University.
University of Miami.
The worst part about that is they put of Ohio in parentheses, so it like really diminishes it, like of Ohio.
What other appeal is there to go to that school that other than like mistaking it for Miami U?
My dad went to Uppsala University. No longer exists, so I didn't go there. I don't think he got a scholarship, but he got accepted to MIT. And he went to Uppsala.
Oh.
Good choice. Uppsala was it was kind of like Grove City of New York. It was a Lutheran private school, but it's Swedish. There is an Uppsala University in Sweden, so that's where they kind of got the name from. You don't see me as like Swedish. Viking right here. We conquered the known world. So he got English degree, but then he went to seminary in Philadelphia after that. And then he went to University of Penn, so he had some good schools, but started with Uppsala. And Duquesne. Don't misspell it if you are applying to Duquesne.
Yeah.
Just think Duquesne. We'll get it right. The prepackaged, predictable, generic statements, I think we've pretty much already said this kind of stuff as to what you want to avoid because it is that cliche kind of thing. But, I chose Grove City because Grove City is committed to learning and I want to learn. Learning is important. A couple things. Number one, it's basically a circular reasoning begging the question. You're repeating yourself over and over and over again. And it, again, sounds like one of those things that you are supposed to say. And so that's, again, not really doing anything that is telling anything new or specific about you. This hasn't been as big of an issue over the last couple of years as it used to be. Again, people were very proud of your newfound language enrichment knowledge and try to communicate that in every single essay. Use your own voice. So they can tell if you are using Roget, a thesaurus, or if you are, I just call it a Shift F7 kid, where you always look up the synonyms in Microsoft Word by hitting Shift F7. Jack's going, wow, I can just hit that button now.
I always want to do
Now you're always going to be doing that. It's not necessarily the big words that are going to be effective, it is the best word. So certainly if there is a term that is appropriate and you want to use it, that's fine. but don't throw around the big words just because you think it's going to sound better. In some cases, they're going to get misused. That can detract from the overall quality of the essay. Powerful ideas are better than the words that are necessarily being used. And the one thing I would say is I think a lot of you, not that your word choice by any means was poor at the beginning of the year, but I think it has become a strength of a lot of you. And just verb choice can go a long way with that. Active voice as opposed to passive voice can have a big difference. So I don't want you to have telegraphic sentences the whole way throughout of writing "I'm a slob" and repeating that three-word sentence over and over again. But don't feel that you have to use the big fancy words just for the sake of showing how wonderful and intelligent and smart you are. At the same time, don't use slang. It's not a text message. It's not email. It is a formal essay that you are submitting. I don't think we're going to have this kind of stuff taking place. And it's not handwritten, so you're not going to be doing like plus signs for and a W/ for with. But do make sure you spell out the words. I would avoid etc. etc. Period, because people use that as a substitute for saying other things. It sounds like you might be taking some shortcuts, or you have other things to say, but you don't really know what to say. So I would kind of avoid that if you get into anything with the list that would be taking place. Don't plagiarize. Don't plagiarize. Don't plagiarize. Don't plagiarize. Don't plagiarize. Even if it bears worth repeating, still don't plagiarize. And don't buy essays online either. That's plagiarism, and you're out of money. And a lot of times they will end up being able to tell, and you go into the DDI or Daddy Did It pile, and they will never talk to you ever again. They won't even go, "Sorry, Kaylee, we don't think you're the right student." They will just let you hang there, waiting for that response, and you'll never, ever hear from them again. And you spent $19.99 at greatessays.com. Way to go. Talked about this yesterday. Schools sometimes will use similar prompts. Northwestern and Duke are two schools that have very similar prompts, but they are still different questions. If Northwestern gets a Duke essay question and Duke gets a Northwestern, they're going to go, "Really? You can't take enough time to write out an essay to us of our own?" So do make sure that you do an appropriate essay for that school. Now understand, the Common App, you are writing one essay that will go out to multiple schools. They certainly understand that that one's going out. But if schools personalize their essays, their responses, their questions, they're hoping that you will personalize your response as well. So just don't do the Control-A, copy, paste method, and then submit. Plus, that can also be kind of dangerous if you mention the wrong college for the wrong essay, and I'm sure that happens far too frequently. So, I don't think UMass cares if you want to wear that Harvard sweatshirt, and they would probably delete you from their consideration list. Pitt's not looking for Nittany Lions, Penn State's not looking for Panthers, so just don't mix those things up. Proofread. You're writing to an academic institution. Whether you're selecting it for academics or not, they're hoping that you are. So make sure that you do at least kind of present yourself as academically solid as you possibly can. Sure, they can still tell it's distracting, but if that I is missing, there's still a way to kind of separate you from some other folks. And they have thousands upon thousands of people who are applying, so they are looking for ways to try to figure out who would I not accept. Don't rely simply on spell checker, because you could graduate from high school and in your mind it could look fine, but when they're reading it going, "Whoops, that person made a mistake." And at that point, they probably do start to kind of skim a little bit more or put it off into a different essay pile. And don't fry your friends. That's bad. Don't do that. Quiz time. Pressure is on. How can you tell? You don't use terrestrial sphere on a vernal evening all that often?
I say those words, but I just said I wouldn't.
Yeah, little wordy, a little bit more vocabulary. As a high school sophomore, I was our church representative to the Youth Fellowship. I helped organize youth group events, the largest being the Bishop's Ball, a statewide event for 300 young people. I also played high school junior varsity soccer for 2 years. As a senior, I'll be playing varsity soccer, but in the off season, as a junior, I coached the girls' soccer team for the town. Wordy and like that resume thing. Now, some of those things could be good to write about. Certainly, group events, being in charge, helping organize, there could be a lot of good stuff that would come from that, but you don't need to list every single thing that you have ever accomplished, and don't make silly, stupid mistakes like that.
I like
Charles Dickens.
I kept writing Steinbeck.
At the beginning of the year, instead of like Conrad or something like that, yeah. And the big thing is, again, it's not like a TWA, because that stuff does happen, but you have the ability to proofread. You have the ability to locate those mistakes. So there's no reason for you to make those silly mistakes. Some of you are going to apply to like 20 schools. Some of you are going to apply to 5 schools. Doesn't matter. Couple of things though. If there is a school that you really want to get into, not CMU, but there is some place that you really do want to get into. This is not it will work every time thing, but after you submit all your application materials and things like that, I would wait a couple weeks. I would then send the admissions office a thank you note. Don't be brash and go, thank you for accepting me into your university, because you haven't got that notification yet. But I would send them a thank you note. I would handwrite it. There's little thank you cards. Send it to a couple. Thank you for the time, consideration of my application. And worst case, cost you a stamp, 50 cents and a little card from the dollar store. Best case scenario, it's another way for them to remember who you are. And even if it's a person who did not read your application, I wonder who this Matt Clark kid is, and kind of look up the file. If it gets a little extra stamp of approval, that could certainly go a long way. So I think that would be something that maybe kind of keep in mind. And that would be like life lesson moving forward. Thank you notes are wonderful things. You're going to have to start also asking teachers, mentors, bosses, not family members, but like recommendation letters. Give time for those people to write those letters. Don't go, well, you write me a recommendation letter, I need it by 9th period. That's not going to work as well. So I'd say give a minimum of 2-week notice, but the more advance notice you can give, the better off.
I was at Easter Mass, and our deacon was like, hey, if you write your recommendation letter for college, I'll write it. Literally middle of Mass.
I would not ask for it in the middle of
I
Mass.
didn't ask. It was so weird. He just like turned to me. He's like, hey, you can read it. What? Do you want me to send you a digital copy of my essay from Friday? Because I'm not going to be here at all.
You're here Thursday, right? So Thursday, I'll have the peer-edit sheets, so you can at least get that. Yeah, if you can send me a digital copy of it on Thursday, you can show it to me.
Okay.
But yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, because we're leaving like early.
But yeah, Thursday I'll have the stuff.
Okay. Thank you. I won't be here. Yeah. So.
You don't want to go to work.
Yeah. Can I turn it in on Wednesday and make for Thursday?
And you can still do like the turn it in.
Either way.
No,
Okay. How many recommendation letters should we get a September?
It varies from school to school. Most are like 2 to 3.
Like per school.
Yeah. Now, I mean, for like on the common app, for that one, it's,
This is for
okay.
next
Thank you.
year. Thank you.
Like, you could theoretically recommend like asking you to do a recommendation letter for your common app. That then goes to all those schools. So if they're on a common app, that number is 2 to 3, but it's a number like that. Some schools don't use common app, might ask for specific, like we want a science teacher, we want an English teacher, we want one teacher, one community member. But it's usually but you can reuse usually. That's like a big part of the application.
My mom brought 4 bags of it.
But yeah, you can
I was like,
use
man, my phone
recommendation
can't get rid of this space.
Like you could just make
It's like, yeah, it's like 475 with the movies.
I was wondering, could I come in like?
I mean, I'm not like.
I got one. No, I got one bag for reason I can get rid of it. Everyone.
Yeah, as long as
But I think there's some problems.
yeah, tomorrow should be fun.
Okay.
Do you need help opening this up? No.
I don't think so.
Probably not.
Yeah, should soak up the.
Can I come by after this period?
Bye.
Yeah, briefly, because I have to head downstairs then.
Alright, because I just like have a question, just because I'm really nervous with that TWA.
Okay.